to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Fertility Village Live tonight. I'm Erin from Oasis FSN, one of the co-founders and one of the founders of Fertility Village Live as well. And thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm joined today by my new friend, Dahlia. Hi, Dahlia. Welcome to Fertility Village. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here today.
Good. We're happy to have you. Dahlia is a registered dietitian and founder of Dahlia Nutrition. And tonight we're talking about fertility nutrition. So thank you for coming and joining and being here to talk to us about that.
Amazing. I'm so excited.
Yes. Me too. I'm so pumped for this conversation. I just only got to know you a little bit tonight before this. So I'm really pumped about the questions we have lined up in this episode in general. Honestly, nutrition just seems like a no-brainer place to start when it comes to fertility treatment. Even like at the TTC stage, pre-infertility or pre-fertility diagnosis, when you're just general, like women's health, men's health, we're going to talk about tonight too. It just seems like a no-brainer to know, to understand what is our bodies doing and what is supportive to our fertility journey. So before we dig into all of that stuff, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So why don't you tell us, Dahlia, what really led you into the fertility nutrition work?
Awesome. So a little bit about me. I've been a dietitian for 16 years, and about 7 years ago, I actually focused on fertility nutrition from my personal experience. Just a bit of history on myself. I had cancer as a child, and chemo and radiation, the radiation pretty much fried my eggs and affected blood flow to the uterus. And
wow,
my uterus was on the smaller side. And it was quite the experience, and even just more so for my parents. But the message had always been like, oh, you'll never get pregnant, never be able to have kids. And so and that was kind of like what, you grow up and, like getting into, if you want to getting married, and that was kind of like the thing, that's it. You're not going to have kids. And when I got married, that's when I started thinking, like, I wonder if science has evolved and if there's like a way that maybe this would be possible. And maybe I can prove these doctors wrong. I don't like to say no for an answer, not possible. It's like, I'm always right. It's like the same. Yeah. You want to like figure out a way around it. There has to be a way around it.
When there's a will, there's a way. That's what I always say.
Exactly. So so that's when I started kind of exploring what that could look like for me. That's where I started getting more curious and started feeling like there is big opportunity in this space for nutrition. Personally, it started out with, some consultations at different clinics, and I'll never forget the first clinic I went to. I was just exploring, like, what does that look like? After I got married, I was just like, curious, like, what could that look like? And the first thing at that first fertility clinic I went to was, totally doable. We just have to use donor eggs and we can get you pregnant. And it was very optimistic. But the donor egg concept was such a new concept to me. And I didn't know anybody who had gone through it. And it was actually very overwhelming. I remember just shutting down to that idea at the very beginning, like, just like, no, like, okay, that's not for me. Yeah. And my husband and I had that conversation. We actually we just closed that conversation. We're like, that's it. Like, we're not interested in it. And then like 3 years later, we're like, okay, let's take a look at what that could look like. And then the more I started reading about it, the more I started coming across like Facebook groups, others who have gone through and started families using donor eggs and donor sperm and all of that. And you start seeing like, oh my God, there are other people and there's options.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anyone who had a case very similar to mine. My issue really was like, I had premature ovarian failure, really small uterus, and restricted blood flow to the uterus because of the treatment. And so it was just like, you're just trying to find those that have gone through similar experiences. And the donor egg component was just a very intriguing space. And then I was just we were so on board. We're like, we're doing this. Like, the donor egg is like, we figured it out. We actually really had so much appreciation that this was even an option. But that fertility doctor was like I felt like a bit misled, because he was a bit way too like over promising. And then one day, after doing a bunch of different assessments, he was just like, no, I don't think we're going to be able to proceed. Like, I just felt like he gave me a lot of hope, but it was false hope.
Yeah, that's so hard. It's so hard to know who to trust at the start of your journey, and they all think like, oh yeah, we'll get you pregnant, no problem, without actually knowing like the whole picture, the whole scope. The first naturopath I went to said the same thing, like, oh, we'll get you pregnant, no problem. And I was like, little did they know we had like no sperm to work with. So my son's donor conceived too. Or not too, but like, I understand that part of your journey where you didn't know anybody else who'd been through that with the, third party reproduction. And it was the same for us. Like, understanding that world is all of a sudden you're like, well, this is going to be part of our story. It's really, really like hard to kind of get your head around. Yeah.
Yeah. And just even like finding a donor, right? And even like for me, it was even like just trying to find a donor, like maybe close enough culture, skin color, which was like such a tough space. Like, there's not a lot of diversity in the donors as well. But then you get to a point where, like, you know what, like, what really matters. And so like that's a whole other conversation, the whole process. But and then you get into like, what kind of conversations would you have with your kids, right? Like, and how do you tell them their story? But just finding like there was so much support in that space. But yeah, that doctor was just like way too, like, I just got so disappointed, and I actually started going for other opinions until I found a fertility clinic where the doctor was like, he knew his stuff. He was not like, there were no false hopes. He was just like, we can try this, we can try that. And he offered different protocols. I had very thin lining. My lining was 3 millimeters and would never budged higher than that. Until like with this doctor, we tried so many things. We tried vaginal Viagra, we tried tamoxifen, pentoxifil, like so many meds, high doses estrogen, and like my lining actually went up 4, 5, 6. Like, it was what I really appreciated is like, he was willing to try, and he was on top of his stuff. And that was important to me. Like, for me, it was the trying. That was what was important, like to feel like I've tried everything. So we found an egg donor, and we really embraced that process. Like, my husband and I kind of made a night out of it, and we were just like, who are we picking? And it's down to these 3, and we really embraced that process. And then our donor, we retrieved 18 eggs. We made 14 embryos, and 10 made it to day 5, and then we froze them. And we transferred one by one. I had an ectopic on the second transfer, which was pretty rough.
That is rough.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. And, initially getting a positive was just like, can't believe it. Like, it was just, like that feeling. Yeah. So unfortunately, that was an ectopic. And then the other transfers failed. We just transferred our last 2 embryos last month, and those did not take either. So
I'm so sorry. That's so hard. It's such a long journey. And we were just chatting about this off camera, but like, it's so draining. It takes up it infiltrates every part of your life, from your like social life to your like every kind of relationship with your partner, with your family, your work, your money, it's all consuming, and it's so stressful. And then the not knowing, and then the lack of hope, and there's so many things that just make it so incredibly difficult to navigate. So I'm sorry that you're at this point, and I hope that you find your way out of it one way or another, and either the hope to keep going or the strength to not, because that's So sometimes like that's the best decision for you, is to just decide to find joy, like you're saying, in your life, childless. And I mean, you can have you will have an amazing life either way, right? But it's so difficult to navigate that, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and it is definitely like a lot of like mentally, physically, like it's been 7 years, so it gets to a point where, like, you know what, like you need to move on, because like you said, like I had to put a lot of things on hold, and it was just so hard. Like now I just actually feel a bit of relief since stopping everything. I feel like I have a bit more time, a bit more bandwidth in my mind, because it was, a lot of your thoughts are consumed with what you have to do, what you have to plan, and so I'm just trying to figure it out now. Very grateful for like having the support, like mental health support. And then the Oasis group has a child-free group that I just discovered. So I joined one of their sessions, and
I'm so happy to hear that. That's amazing. Yes, Lisa, who runs our child-free group, is wonderful. And she's just so good at helping families, and mostly women, I think, navigate that, making that decision, and how do you get there. And so I'm so happy to hear that for you. And I totally understand that relief of that final decision of, I don't have to do this anymore. No more drugs, no more, like, it's the mental load of the journey is it's crazy. So to like, just for that to be gone, no doubt you have a lot of bandwidth back, and energy and hope, and just the ability to dream again in the future, and to look forward without without this big question mark, and wondering, like, is such a help. It's such a either way, even though it can be devastating, making that decision to walk away, it is relieving, I think, one way or the other.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So why don't you talk to us about what role does nutrition actually play in fertility for both men and women? So you're a nutritionist. That is your qualifications. So what is that? For those that are watching or listening in later that don't know, what is a nutritionist? Because I mean, we've heard of naturopaths, we've heard of other doctors that work with health and food, but what does a nutritionist actually do?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So in Canada, being a dietitian is regulated. Like every province has like its body. So like I'm registered with the College of Dietitians of Ontario.
Right.
But what that meant is doing an undergrad in nutrition, and then I did a master's in nutrition combined with to be a dietitian, you actually have to do like over 1,000 hours practice in hospitals, in clinical, long-term care, and in different areas of nutrition.
Wow.
It's quite rigorous. Yeah. And we have to be part of our college, our provincial college, and it's highly regulated. We have like regular exams that we have to do. There's a first exam you have to do to actually become registered. And then after that, just continuous learning, and then like an assessment that you have to do as well. So it's and the big thing here is all evidence-based when it comes to nutrition, because nutrition is something like, so I'm a registered dietitian. When it comes to nutrition, like you can call yourself a nutritionist if you want to, like with 2 hours an online course, or a 4-hour course. But to be a dietitian, you have to be a registered dietitian and kind of go through all that schooling.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying that, because obviously I needed to be educated on this too. So that is great.
It's so easy to confuse. I mean, it's so easy. That's confusing, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's just good for folks listening and who are thinking about exploring like diet and nutrition and its relation to fertility, to know like where to go. But like to go to a dietitian makes a big difference to just going to a nutritionist, right? Like there's a massive obviously a huge difference. So that's great to specify. So yeah, tell us about the specific nutrients that are most important when trying to conceive. Or sorry, that play the biggest role for men and women. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very big space. And with nutrition, it also comes down to the individual, like what else they have going on. So like nutrition can play a role in supporting egg health. It can play a role in supporting sperm health. If someone's got PMOS, maybe we have some blood sugar challenges going on and insulin resistance, nutrition can play a role in managing that. One of the biggest things I see is a lot of inflammation, which comes from different health conditions, even with endometriosis, and nutrition can play a big role through food and with or without supplements, but can play a big role in kind of reducing that inflammation to create that environment that will help support a pregnancy, or through IVF help support having, great eggs, sperm, great embryos, and then a successful embryo transfer. So there's a lot of key areas there where, for example, like omega-3s are something that are so common, whether it's sperm health, egg health, you're preparing your lining for an embryo transfer. Like that is one key nutrient I like to make sure that everyone's getting enough of. And a lot of times, a lot of my patients are not getting enough of.
Right. Yeah. Wow. There's so much to know on this topic.
Yeah.
Are there specific nutrients that are most important when trying to conceive? You mentioned omega-3.
Yeah.
Are there others that it's like, without a shadow of a doubt, you should be at least on these, 10 things, 4 things, 2 things?
Well, number one is a prenatal. Absolutely. If you're trying to conceive, at least 3 months before, you need to be on a prenatal. Yeah. The iron and vitamin D are 2 nutrients I frequently see deficiencies in. And that is something you actually want to get tested first, get the blood work. And a lot of times it's not part of the standard blood work that's done. So this is something I always get my patients and clients to go back and advocate for themselves and get those, and ask for ferritin, ask for vitamin D to get checked. Vitamin D, unfortunately, is not covered by OHIP unless you have osteoporosis or a condition that puts you at risk of deficiency. But it's about $50-$60, depends on the clinic. And it's a great investment in the future, because there's been a lot of research that showed deficiencies in vitamin D, both in men and in women, can actually result in miscarriage. It affects the egg health, and it affects sperm health as well. So vitamin D, absolutely, get that checked, pay those $60, and maybe if you have health benefits through work that cover it, bonus.
Yeah.
And so check first before we supplement. That's what I like to do. So we see is there deficiency? Are we borderline? And then do we just need a maintenance dose, or do we actually need a high dose? And some who are super deficient might need a significantly high dose that needs a prescription.
Okay. Wow. And I mean, we're in Canada.
Exactly.
We're just starting to get actual vitamin D on our bodies, on our skin, if we manage to get outside when it's sunny. So isn't it safe to say the majority of the folks living in this country are, deficient in vitamin D? I know, and you can prescribe that blood test. Can you?
It has to go through the doctor. So as dietitians, not yet, there's actually some work being done on this, but as dietitians, not yet. We cannot put in requisition for blood work, but that's why I always have to do it. Yeah, and we're really hoping dietitians can soon. There's some work being done in the background to try and advocate for that.
That'd be great. Yeah, especially for blood work. That seems like a very simple request,
And it's easier because sometimes my patients will go to their doctors, and if they're not able to speak up for themselves, and the doctors might say, no, you don't need to. Whereas I know you need to. And, some of the doctors vitamin D and iron should be ones I'd really like to see a lot of doctors start screening for that right away at the beginning.
Yeah. Just baseline fertility testing included. Yeah.
And similar with iron deficiencies is something I want to make sure gets corrected before any IVF treatment starts, before egg retrieval starts, before embryo transfer. We need to make sure vitamin D and iron are both within the range that it should be.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Depends now if there's something else going on, like CoQ10, for example. If there's PMOS, there's egg, maybe there's some egg quality challenges. Even with sperm, CoQ10 is so important. If there's any sperm, whether it is motility, morphology, any issues there. And then inositol as well, if there's PMOS, is something that will help just with like ovulation and egg quality, even with embryo quality. And but I would say like base, those are minimum, and the rest is so individual. Like and before we even look at supplements, like I like to work with my patients and just look at like, what are you eating in a day, and what nutrients might you be missing, and then we put those in through either more food, or if there's a need for supplement. But I'm a food first approach is what I like to do. But like a prenatal is a non-negotiable, and vitamin D and iron, like if you're deficient, food will not be enough. You need a supplement. The rest, it depends on a case by case.
Do you have a prenatal that you recommend? Do you want to do a shout out to anybody? We could do shout outs on here. Any specifically that you're like, no, this is a really good, like this is the one I would highly recommend for somebody just starting?
So I would say, I mean, there's quite a lot on the market, and also like budget plays a big role. Like there are prenatals that you can get through prescription if you have health benefits that cover it. I would avoid things that are like gummies and things like that, because things like gummies will not have enough or any iron in them. Just the chemistry of like how they're prepared. I personally like Bird and Bee. I found that they hit the check mark on a lot of the nutrients, and they're evidence-based. Like I'm all about evidence-based. And for me, I found that their products, when I look at every nutrient and how much is needed for pregnancy, even like they've got some products too for male fertility, extra CoQ10 if needed. And I actually like a lot of my patients also like the convenience, like it's all in one pack.
All in one pack.
And I wish I kind of had access to that, because me personally, like I had like 15 different bottles, and every Sunday I would get my pack of like Monday to Sunday, and start like, filling in my day, my night. And like that was a good half an hour for me every Sunday night.
Yeah.
Putting all the supplements I need. So convenience is important, but like that's a great one. Yeah.
I have Oasis through our fertility journal. We have a discount code for YadTech, which also does prenatals. And it's a 15% off coupon. So if anybody's listening and wants to use that, the coupon is Oasis15. And it's yadtech.com, YADTECH.com. So, I mean, this isn't an ad by any means, but they've been really supportive. And even our new member bags right now for support group for the first time, if you show up to an in-person group where we give away like the YadTech prenatal vitamins. So we'll have to hook you up with some of those so you can check them out too. So just so people have options with varying degrees of, cost, affordability and whatnot. So yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Ideally, how early should somebody start to focus on fertility nutrition before they start trying for a baby? Like, 5 years ago?
I love this question, because you know what? Yeah. Sometimes I'll have patients book with me a week before their egg retrieval. And I'm like, I wish you came 3 months before. Yeah. So it actually takes around 3 months for any change you make in your nutrition, in your lifestyle, to affect your egg quality, to affect your sperm health. And so at least 3 months. And and like this is where it's important to kind of start, if you're making any nutrition changes, like start getting into those habits, because anything new you're doing, whether it's nutrition, whether it's physical activity, whether it's working on your caffeine or trying to reduce alcohol, or there's a lot we usually have to start looking at. And it, you don't want it to be too much change all at once. Like that can be so overwhelming when fertility treatment on its own is like a full-time job. So
yes, it is. Full time. Yeah, it's very true. Okay. Well, tell us, this next question is really interesting. Tell us, what are some common nutrition myths that you hear in the fertility space?
So going gluten-free is one I see quite often, where I have patients that will just come in and said they've gone gluten-free, or they're kind of exploring whether they should. My approach is to provide like the evidence-based information, and then it's up to the client or patient to decide how they want to proceed. So with gluten, for example, I usually take a look at, okay, like, have we done screening for celiac? Like maybe there is celiac and there's some specific reason, like, or a gluten intolerance that we need to avoid gluten. If not, maybe like with endometriosis, there is some evidence that has shown, like, for some people, eliminating gluten has reduced pain and inflammation, but it's a case by case. For anything else, there's really not much evidence around it, and it's a very expensive diet to be following.
Yeah, it
I
is.
can buy a loaf of regular bread for $3, but a gluten-free bread could be $8-9, right? And then all that adds up.
Super inconvenient too.
Exactly.
If it's not necessary, but like,
it's not necessary.
Yeah. If there's other ways we can get inflammation out of our bodies, then like start there, We have a question from Instagram, and it's kind of referring to the last one. So I'll ask it so that whoever's asking this question is still tuned in here. But how long does it take for the inositol to start having an effect?
Oh, that one is very that one really is variable. I think it really depends on each individual and what is going on. I mean, inositol is something that supports, are we looking to regulate your cycle? Are we working on egg quality? Like if it's the egg quality piece, that's 3 months again, because our eggs, like that's the cycle, like that the in nutrition and the changes you're making that way. Regulating your cycle, ovulation, like there could be other factors that are going on. So like at minimum, I would say 3 months. But even if you're not trying to get pregnant right now, inositol still is a great support from an insulin resistance, managing those cravings.
Yeah.
Like the super intense cravings that come with PMOS, for example. It is one of the greatest options there for support in reducing those cravings. So with that, maybe you don't want a timeline on that. Like maybe that is something is important and is part of your quality of life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, trying something like that and then just seeing how it impacts your cravings or, your blood sugar regulation. Are you hungry or not? It's just, I mean, you really have to trial those things for a period of time before you can even like, oh, she said, thank you. You're welcome. I hope that was the answer you're looking for. You really have to give it time. And that can be the hardest thing on the fertility journey, I just have to say, because the time, you feel like the time is just every second is so important, because like you just see your life flashing before you and you're like, I'm already like 32. I don't want to be 34 when I have a baby. I'm already 35. I don't want to be 36. Like you just start to, it feels like time speeds up and you're like, every month I'm losing an egg, I'm losing a chance to have a baby. And it's stressful, So like taking breaks during a fertility journey is so hard to do. But I think in my own experience, it was so important to just like take a step back and evaluate, like the next 6 months could make or break the next transfer. Like, is it worth it to like try and de-stress, try and like a new protocol, try a new supplement, and make sure that like your body's ready so that you don't like waste another, embryo or opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's what I highly recommend. And I personally did that. Like I took breaks in between, and just to give yourself some breaks from some of the medications if you're on some like high doses, especially in preparation for embryo training.
Mental health, like the mental health piece is so key too, right?
Yeah, and just not rushing, because like the more you like the more you can take care of yourself and kind of take a bit of a break in between, mentally, physically, even financially. We were chatting about that earlier.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of like reset, and then you're getting in the next say embryo transfer or the next retrieval, but now you've given yourself that time to see the changes you've made, and then that they would have an impact.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think are the biggest nutrition changes people can make without becoming overwhelmed? Like, what are the most impactful things people can do? Just like maybe they even already have it at home, or
Yeah. Okay. I love this question, because really, like, this is where all my work comes in, is We know all those nutrients we talk about, you know, iron, vitamin D, omega-3, but like, how do we bring it all together so it's not overwhelming? I usually work with my clients and like, let's think about our meals in terms of 3 components. So every time you're having a meal, you want to make sure you have a fruit or vegetable part of that meal. You know, tends to be a bit more fruit for breakfast. Lunch and dinner tends to be more vegetable, or, you know, totally up to you. Always having protein in your meal, and that each meal has like a source of protein, ideally like a lean protein. So variety, I always say variety in that case. You know, sometimes do beans, lentils, do chicken, tofu, red meat once in a while, and then making sure you have whole grains. That's the third group. So that would be things like quinoa, whole wheat, whole grain bread, whole wheat grain pastas. Like, so every time you eat, just think of your plate as having those 3 components. And I find like that reduces a lot of the stress around figuring out what you're going to eat, what you're going to pair it with. And then based on this, what I do with my clients is like, okay, now, you know, put pen to paper or use your notes on your phone or whatever works for you. Let's put those headings, those 3 categories, and let's write down all our favorite foods under each of these groups. And then just all you can do is mix and match and come up with 3 meals that are set meals you're going to have every week. And breaking it down that way so it's easy. You're not having to think, what are we having for dinner today? Well, what
Totally. And I
are
also, I don't know, like, if anybody out there has heard of ChatGPT, or I'm just joking, but you just feed that list into AI and be like, make me, I mean, you can dial it into, I need this many calories, I need this many grams of protein, I need this many grams of fiber in this meal, and it will like tell you exactly how much of each thing to make and put into the, like, it makes meal planning, and then it'll be like, would you like me to create a grocery list? It's like, yes, I would.
Exactly.
It's amazing. So like, use the tools that we have access to, and use them so that you don't have to use your bandwidth that you're already struggling to use. You know, your already mental load is so heavy. Like, let AI help and, you know, take some of that burden off, right? I think that's that's great though. But that's a great idea, taking those 3 categories, putting down the things that you know you already love in there. That's such a good idea. Yeah.
Which is so important. I like, you know, you mentioned love, right? Like, food brings joy, right? Food brings people together.
Sure.
And when it comes to fertility, I mean, I'm even being a dietitian and kind of going through it myself, is just like, in some instances, I was just like feeling like I have to eat these foods. And in a way, like, I just felt like I'm starting to lose that joy around food, and we need to bring it back. And that's why I say, what are your favorite foods in these groups? And then let's make sure that, okay, there's always some fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week, like salmon, trout, tuna. Okay, do we have vegetable in every meal? Okay, I have clients who don't usually eat vegetables, so like, even putting a vegetable on is something new. What are some of your favorite veggies? And trying to work with like the foods they enjoy, rather than, you know, like, I have some clients that'll say, I can't eat fish. I cannot, like, there's no way I'm having fish. That's fine. Okay. Well, then maybe in this case, we will have to focus on omega-3 supplements, is where that will come from. So I'm here to work with my clients in what works for them. It's like, it's really their goals, their nutrition. This is their lifestyle, and these are habits they're going to have to build. And so just breaking it down that way. And then from there, we can do our grocery list, like you said. I like to even shop the flyer. I use the Flip app, and it has, I'll use what's on sale, especially for protein, to kind of determine what my proteins are going to be for that week. So I go to No Frills and I go to Metro for my meat and fish, and No Frills for everything else. Well, when Metro has salmon on sale for $9.99, I just go buy those 3 big trays.
And chop them up, individually package them. Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So I encourage, like, with fertility, we spend so much money on fertility. Even if you're on a funded cycle, you're spending out of pocket on meds, you're spending out of pocket on so many other things that, like, let's also talk about how we can save money and kind of leverage those flyers and deals in our meal planning.
Yeah, that's so smart. I love that. And then you also can like plan ahead. You're like, I know I have like, 16 salmon portions in my freezer. And then you can like plan it out, right? Yeah, that's great. What's your favorite easy fertility supportive snack or meals?
Ooh. Uh, edamame beans, like the
Oh,
frozen
yeah.
ones. Those
Yeah.
are so good because
Just
those
like frozen, eat them, just pop them.
I just put them in a bowl in the microwave
Okay,
for
okay.
30
No,
seconds to a
yeah.
minute. Just warm them up. A little bit of
Salt.
soy sauce.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's protein. It's a great source of protein. Like
Oh,
even a
okay.
snack, like protein should be in every meal and snack. So that makes for a great protein snack.
What about
Shrimp.
celery and peanut butter? Celery with some peanut butter?
Oh, yes. Yes, I love that. So
Okay.
convenient. Or
Childhood.
any nut butter, like any nut or seed
Yes.
butter, like sunflower seed butter, like high in omega-3. Like nuts and seeds have omega-3s and some protein. So yeah, even like hummus and crackers or hummus and carrot sticks. I'm a fan of like just nuts, like just I'll buy a big bag of mixed nuts, and like that could be that with a bit of dark chocolate. I always have dried cranberries, and just make your own like trail mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm like getting hungry now.
We should have
Thinking
brought
about what
snacks
am I
today.
snacking on later? Yeah, we definitely had snacks talking about food. Okay, we're gonna shift the conversation a little bit. This episode's flying by the way. Like we're already almost 40 minutes in.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. So let's move into a little bit talking about PMOS, endometriosis, and some specific diagnosis. First of all, for those who haven't heard, PCOS is now PMOS. Can you tell us what that stands for?
Metabolic endocrine. Oh my goodness. I'm still trying to keep up with that.
Ovarian syndrome? Is it?
Yeah, ovarian syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they change it from like yes.
Got removed.
Yes. So yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not polycystic, it's polymetabolic, right?
Exactly.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, so how can nutrition really support? We talked a little bit about gluten-free for PCOS or like minoxidil for PMOS. So how can nutrition support people with that specific diagnosis? We actually have some other good episodes on this talk. If you're listening and you're like, yeah, PMOS, that's my diagnosis. I'm here for this question. Go to our YouTube channel because we have like whole episodes just on PCOS prior to PMOS, same thing, just new name. So tell us what you would say about nutrition support for that.
So this one is also kind of individualized, depends on what's going on. The first thing I actually see is a lot of under eating is happening. There's not eating enough. And the thought behind that is maybe like it's something to do with weight loss, like just trying to control that. And then, because then there's also like the intense cravings that can also be seen. So one of the things I actually work on is like, we need to make sure we're eating enough, because if you're not eating enough, then your body is in like a fight or flight mode and it's actually trying to conserve more energy. And if anything, that can even lead to more weight gain. But that's not even the main thing. The main thing is we need to make sure we're eating enough so that you're getting enough nutrients to support the pregnancy or to help ensure that, you're prepared for your egg retrieval or your embryo transfer. Blood sugar, like there could be some challenges with blood sugar, and maybe blood sugar is something we need to work on stabilizing. So we work on that with food and with looking at like high fiber foods. We work on like, okay, where are your sources of carbs coming from? And we work on kind of stabilizing that. And the biggest thing I see is we need to make sure we're eating frequently, like having something to eat every 3 to 4 hours, and just consistent meals are taking place. That's in terms of just some of the things that I see quite frequently with PMOS. And then inositol is one of the things that has been very helpful in terms of supplements, moving the body, physical activity. I like to talk about that because that can also play a role in reducing our blood sugar. And then like just even being mindful when we're eating and like, am I hungry? because like my stomach, like I'm actually like really hungry? Am I also emotionally, like, is this more like because of emotions? And like we're using food as a way to kind of make us feel good. So there's quite a bit going on in this space. And there's some and then of course, like just regulating like the menstrual cycle and ovulation is something I see quite frequently, and that we have to do hand in hand with the physicians and like the medications that they would be on. But yeah, it's quite a lot of things going on, especially too if there's like any, there's also like the skin stuff and hair growth, and we talk about peppermint tea, for example, in terms of like that can reduce some of that extra hair that we see growing. And yeah,
that's a new one for me. I've never heard that before. Peppermint tea. PCOS for the I mean, there's
the facial hair
symptoms, but facial hair can be one of them. That's so I never knew that. Fascinating. What about for endometriosis? So are there nutrition approaches that may help those symptoms of endo?
And this one's still very new in research and what's coming out. The quality of life is a big one. Like just pain management is a huge thing. And what I see is like, sometimes the pain is so brutal that like even prepping meals and getting up to cook can be exhausting. And so we talk a lot about like meal planning and having like emergency meals, things like that in the freezer, and like quick and easy things that can come together for days you're not feeling so good. Yeah, because I know a lot of times we just kind of focus on the nutrients, but there's other things I like to focus on that around the quality of life and how, not just with endometriosis, honestly, with anything, like it could be a day where you went in and had bad news from your, the results of a test or a procedure or your egg retrieval or whatnot, and you just don't even have the bandwidth to be meal planning and cooking, right? Like, so we talk about strategies around how can you still stay nourished during those times. So with endo, like the pain for some, it could be like some of my patients miss work days because of the pain.
Oh yeah.
You're in bed, right? Like you just can't even get up. And so what does that look like? In terms of like nutrients specifically, for some, like gluten-free diet in some of the research has been shown to be helpful, but it's not something that right now is something that we say blanket statement, everyone with endometriosis should follow a gluten-free diet. It's very personal. Like I'll work one-on-one, like you might not even be interested in it. And then that's fine. I'm like, it's what you have to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes with endo, what happens is IBS, like inflammatory bowel syndrome. A lot of patients are actually diagnosed with IBS first before they're diagnosed with endo. And the IBS symptoms are very similar, especially if there's like a lot of digestive related diarrhea, constipation, that we need to work on that nutrition wise.
That's so fascinating, but also, I mean, just being in this community, knowing so many women go undiagnosed with endometriosis for so long, for their whole lives sometimes, and just, I just have IBS, or because you can get pregnant naturally and have naturally, we hate saying that, but you know what I mean? In the bedroom, you can get pregnant in the bedroom and also still have endo, right? Like you don't have to have IVF or just because you have endometriosis. However, like sometimes it's silent, or sometimes it just goes on and you don't actually know. But we have a question from the live on Instagram. What vitamins should you take for endometriosis?
So that's a very good question. So please, this doesn't mean like go ahead when I mention them, go ahead and buy them. It's very individualized. So please speak with your doctor or healthcare professional about this. But vitamins
on Instagram.
It's like, start placing your order. Please work with a healthcare professional, because I don't know what else is going on. Like there might be other things where some of these nutrients, anything I've talked about, could be like a contraindication to what you have going on, which is why like see a dietitian or ask your doctor or a pharmacist. But first of all, a fiber-rich diet is so important. It's shown that it helps kind of clear the estrogen, like excreting the estrogen out. So food-wise, I would do make sure like you're getting enough fiber. anti-inflammatory diet. So like a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables, which is bonus. It's got fiber, so it's a win-win on that.
Yeah, what are the highest fiber foods, like top 5 for fiber? I know chia seeds is a really good one.
Yeah, and like just whole wheat, whole grain, like choosing whole wheat, whole grain breads, and read the nutrition facts table because it varies by brand. But try and pick a bread that's got like at least 4 grams of fiber in it. Something that has 1 gram is not going to be enough. Like on average, we need around 25 grams of fiber a day, and Canadians barely get like 15 grams a day.
Yeah.
So vegetables and fruit are fantastic sources of fiber. I say just eat the rainbow, change it up, eat different fruits and veggies. Whole wheat, whole grain products like quinoa is amazing as well. I like to have that as part of like part of your meal rotation, is we include quinoa in your diet. So those kind of foods are great for like releasing excess estrogen. Omega-3. So if you're talking about supplements, like omega-3, is typically part of my protocol in terms of endometriosis. Vitamin C, E, these are great as well in terms of reducing pain. Like some of the research showed like taking those supplements does reduce the pelvic pain specifically. Same with vitamin D, which I kind of mentioned too earlier, is also important from an egg health aspect as well.
Would you recommend like a inflammation or anti-inflammatory diet to anybody trying to conceive?
Yeah. So in general, like if we are looking at it, like a Mediterranean diet and anti-inflammatory diet is kind of like the main umbrella, I guess you can think of in terms of.
That's the gold standard.
Exactly. So what does that mean? Like, what is an anti-inflammatory diet? So an anti-inflammatory diet would be like, like I said, rich in fruits and veggies, spices like cinnamon, ginger, turmeric. These are great. And then like plant-based proteins, legumes, like lentils, chickpeas, beans. And just like when you eat a variety of foods, you'll kind of end up hitting the anti-inflammatory diet. Where the challenge becomes is like if it's someone that just eats the same thing over and over again. So yeah.
I see. That's so interesting. I want to pivot a little bit and talk about male fertility. It is Men's Health Awareness Month in June. We can talk a little bit about male fertility. It's often overlooked, to be honest, because the woman is always the patient. It's always a person with uterus is fertility patient. So even in a case, which is 50% of the time where the factor is from the male side, women are still the fertility patient. And this was my story. Like we had a male factor. And so, but I still had to like do all the nutrition, get my body ready, prepare my, all of it, because I wanted to make sure I created this like perfect host for a baby. But on the male side, what can men be doing with their nutrition? I mean, probably all the same things as women, but we just talked about the women's reproductive, health challenges. So what about the male challenges? Like how can they, what lifestyle or nutrition factors can really affect their fertility or their sperm health?
So first of all, make sure that like all the screening tests and everything are being done on the partner, like not just waiting till closer to say, preparing to make embryos. I would say make sure, first of all the testing has been done earlier, right? To see like, is there, how's motility, how's concentration, how's the DNA fragmentation, like making sure we know baseline what we're working on. And so depending on that,
they don't even do that defragmentation test in most clinics, like until it's like all the IUIs are done. It's been 2 years and they're like, well, I guess we should see if there's defragmentation. What?
Exactly. And that's why it's like, make sure all of that gets tested and done first so that there's no surprises and that there's time to work on things if we need to work on things, which is the 3-month time frame.
Yeah.
So for male factor or like for sperm health in general, omega-3 comes up again. So there's a lot of very similar, like omega-3, vitamin D, vitamin C, E, like those again, depends on like now if we are finding something in terms of the results, in some of those cases, like a supplement will likely be what we want to definitely have to correct anything to do with like DNA, morphology, motility, that sort of thing. But if it's more just kind of, okay, we're preparing there, the semen analysis, everything came out looking great, but we definitely still want to make sure we just from food are getting these key nutrients. And then CoQ10 is something that we've seen a lot of research come out with support in terms of sperm motility.
That's good.
Yeah, so that one is something that we're starting to see quite a bit, and it's been, it's a great supplement. So that's also common, you both might be taking some of these similar supplements. And so vitamin D is one, like, again, get your blood levels done and checked to see if there's any deficiency. So that's one that we'll need a blood test for before you start.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And what are we looking, back to CoQ10, because I remember going down this sort of rabbit hole when I was in my TTC stage.
Yeah.
And what are we looking for in a high quality? Not just price, like usually you're going to pay a lot for CoQ10, but you pay a lot for the good one. But is there something specific we're looking for in a good CoQ10?
Yeah, like that. There's ubiquinol in there. And so it really depends on like what if your supplement already has it mixed in or if it's something separate. And that's where, depends on your results, we'd look at like, do we need to do extra supplementation, or is like the general, there are different, I guess, male multivitamins that are there that might already include CoQ10, and sometimes it's having a separate add-on as well. So it's really individualized, but that's one where like food will not be enough. That's one where like there definitely needs to be a supplement taken.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. I think that's probably helpful for the men. I saw a few join tonight on Instagram, so that's awesome. Okay, a couple more questions before we wrap up. I can't believe it. It's gone so fast tonight. So what is one fertility nutrition change you wish more people knew about? Like something they can tweak. What do you wish like you could tell people? What's something that they can do that like has a big impact, or you wish people knew about?
It sounds simple, but eat 3 meals a day and snacks. That's as simple as that. I see
Eat more food. That sounds great. That sounds like a great tip.
I see a lot of skipping meals, skipping breakfast, having 1 meal a day, and that can just have such detrimental effect on blood sugar, not getting enough nutrients, and then of course egg health, sperm health. But make sure you're eating at least 3 meals a day and those 3 components I mentioned, and that is a good start.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That seems really simple. Seems like an easy method to follow, or easy, an easy recipe, I guess. Okay, but if somebody could only focus on one habit first, what would you recommend?
One habit would be protein.
Okay.
Make sure there's protein in your meal.
And your snack too, you said? Yeah. So like adding, like you're going to have an apple, you're going to add peanut butter. I love peanut butter. With my go-to snack. Like I'm like hungry, but I'm also like craving something sweet, like just apple peanut butter, or I love hummus and carrots too. But yeah, so I think, like I said, I'm starting to get really hungry. So yeah, that's great. So adding protein to every meal and snack, or
and that could exactly. And protein for meals would be, eggs, could be eggs for breakfast, right? And they're a great source of choline, which is fantastic for supporting like fetal development. And if you've done embryo transfer, protein could be tofu, beans, lentils. It could be in soups, stews, dips, dried. Like there's a lot of now trendy dried peas and legumes as snacks. Like Costco was selling, I think it was 3 farmers, like a big bag with the individual portions. Like there's a lot of convenience ones too. Like if, preparing a snack, you want it to be something simple and something already you have, so that you're not trying to, last minute, and then you're like, oh, maybe a bag of chips is easier to get to, right? So like just kind of playing with what that looks like a little bit and having those snacks handy so that should you get that feeling like you need a snack, which, you know, you do, could be because of the socializing, could be, I noticed too, if someone didn't eat enough or have protein in their breakfast, like come nighttime, there's a high tendency for snacking. And if you notice you're snacking a lot and like really feeling hungry, it's likely because you didn't eat enough during the day.
Interesting. Oh, that's really good to know. Like, you know, especially if people are struggling with, you know, snacking late at night or whatever. Super interesting. You're full of really, really awesome information, Dahlia. I'm really happy that we got a chance to have you on the live. Okay, I want to ask you one more question. What is the most rewarding part of supporting people on this journey?
So I would say like just this being something I've personally gone through, like just then being able to help and give back to this community is amazing. And like, and for like even rewarding is, you know, like just knowing that I can help. And a lot of times I find that like the feedback I get from my patients is like, you actually listen to me. They feel comfortable asking questions, especially when like with fertility treatment, like the medical appointments, they're quick. Sometimes you're told this is what you have to do, this is what you got to do, and you don't even sometimes have enough time to ask questions or know what that is, but like this is a procedure you're told you got to do. And I find like that, like patients open up to me and share like that they don't know. And I'm more than happy to share what they can expect in this type of procedure or connect them with the appropriate resources. And I would say like that is actually so rewarding. Of course, on top of the nutrition and hearing that, you know, like I had a patient last month that was only eating 1 meal a day. And now she's eating 3 and she's telling me she got her period, which is amazing.
Wow.
Those wins, like the wins don't just have to be pregnancy announcements. Like there's not everyone's story has that happy ending, but like if I can make one small difference, or I get feedback that I actually have more energy now because now they're eating and they're eating well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think even just tonight, you've made not one small difference, a lot of differences for people who are tuning in. And this episode's going to live on our YouTube channel and on our like forever, and on our Oasis Fertility podcast. So you could go back and listen to this, or if you're listening right now, share it with a friend who might be struggling with, you know, nutrition or trying to conceive or in the midst of their fertility journey. And they're just looking for some insight and easy tips to, you know, dial in that nutrition and make it the most impactful as possible. Like you have nothing to lose, absolutely zero things to lose when it comes to, you know, focusing on your nutrition. And it's one of the things you can control. And I think we all know on this journey, there's so many things that are out of our control. And I love being able to just focus on the things you can control so that you feel like you're making a difference on your fertility journey. And like you said, Dahlia, it might help result in a baby. It might not. At the end of the day, you're doing something good for your body and you're in control of it. And it's something you can focus on that's easy and it's going to taste good. It's going to, you know, it's going to help you focus. Don't make it something that's like a chore or something that you like another job that you have to do. Just like dive into, you could be the best you if you, you know, just make a couple tweaks and get the right thing. So,
and if I can add to that, like you can follow me on Instagram, Dahlia Fertility Nutrition. And for a lot of people, like their health benefits have dietitian or nutrition coverage. So like you can book a one-on-one and with me. So my services are all virtual and I practice in Ontario. So wherever you are in Ontario. And if you have coverage, fantastic. Like make sure you leverage that. And I'm happy to help in whatever part of your IVF journey you're in.
Yeah, that's so true. I totally forgot about that too. Most benefit plans under the paramedical service part of the program, or if you have a healthcare spending account, you can use that towards seeing a dietitian. That's so true. I'm so glad you mentioned that. So yeah, we've linked you in the Instagram post on the Fertility Village Live, so you can go follow Dahlia and go check out her website and book in to see her. Just a reminder, this week we're into support group week for Oasis. So Monday, June 22nd, 2026, if you're listening in a year from now, sorry you missed it. There's probably another group coming up soon. But for those who are live with us tonight, next Monday night, we have our support groups running. There's a new group support starting right now in St. Catharines. So get out and check that out. Go sign up online at oasisfsn.com. It's going to be a great support group this Monday night. Go connect with other people who are going through this that you can talk about, that you can buddy up with, and don't do this journey alone. You shouldn't have to do this alone. There are other people out there who are going through it that want to go through it with you too, and that want to support you on your journey. So go check out oasisfsn.com and find our community. Join in. We would love to have you. Thanks again for joining, Dahlia. My name's Erin from Oasis. I will see y'all I don't know when I'm on next, maybe in a month or so, but next 2 weeks back here, I think we got Marissa joining us live. So thanks again, Dahlia. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thanks, Erin.